What's up guys, so we finally got to the end of TAT and I of course have Bahamut the Dragon King. This card has been stirring up everything in the meta. It's been just everywhere. We can't get over it. There's no solution unless you play something like Melgus, which is about the same deck because they side into it anyway, and because his first strike really helps, or if you play just Bahamut against it. Houston was kind of proof of this because the top 8 was 6 Bahamuts and 2 Melgus, both of which had Bahamut in their side. So this card has just been a powerhouse, but now that Houston's over, especially for me anyway because I actually went to the event, coming back makes me kind of feel good about it. I mean, I feel really confident that we're not going to have to worry about this after the Atlas 1 box comes out, and that kind of makes me feel good about it. I mean, like at this point, everyone at my locals isn't really playing it anymore. We kind of just said like we wouldn't use Regalia just to make it a little bit funner. But yeah, well, I guess I should say more fun. Sorry, the grammar commenters are gonna just jump on me like it's called more fun, not funner. But anyway, yeah, so it was actually kind of cool to go back and look at all the different things the deck could do. I never really played Bahamut myself because I kind of refused to like join the horde or whatever. I mean, I know some people say that as a meta player you should never, stop yourself from playing something because you might not like it, because technically you should be as competitive as possible. But I just kind of felt like I didn't want to play it, and I've never liked rushy burn decks anyway. But yeah, so I'm going to show you guys the first place list, this is the one that won. I know it was Alex Blandon's brother. I forget his first name. I'm really sorry. I'll be able to find it and put it in the link below, and congratulations to him, of course. But I'm going to show you guys his first place list, and then in the side deck, instead of doing a side deck, I'm just going to show all the other variants of the deck that were at the event, or maybe that got like 3rd place. I know Brian Liu got 3rd place with kind of a granny build. So I'm going to kind of show just all the other variants of the deck you can play, and then I'll just discuss, what each one goes for when I get to it. For his magic stones, he ran a little red the pure stone. This is of course used to call red, but you can also call light, I guess, if desperate, because he does run 4 magic stone of heat ray for light red. And then lastly, just 5 magic stones of fire. For his resonators, he ran 4 Percival. This is the only light resonator in the deck, but he knows it's extremely worth it because of this very last effect even. Despite the fact that you can search every Regalia with this, which is already amazing in itself, the fact that you can banish this card to make your Bahamut not take any damage this turn almost kind of makes it into a pseudo Melgus, because the thing that Melgus has that really gives it advantage over Bahamut is that because of the first strike, he's always going to get to kill Bahamut without wasting a sword. And then on top of that, because you can just tap Leviathan to give Melgus Imperishable because it specifies Melgus, you're never really running out of swords, whereas if you do get through like the 1 or 2 Regalias Bahamut has, now he's going to fall behind. So this almost makes it into a Melgus, because if you fly into another Bahamut and tribute this, not only are you going to survive it as if you had first strike because you didn't take any damage, but you also get to keep your Regalia. So having Percival in this deck actually made it really, really, I can see how the competitive pressure that would apply. And then for Guinevere, of course, which they combo with for Rook Egg to be able to search anything out of their deck. She's also good just to fix your hands. 4 Hunters, just because Swiftness 300. 3 Apostle of Cain, 500, and pseudo Swiftness if your Bahamut already attacked. 2 Lancelot, because it is. I agree that any more than 2 is too much. They don't really even always get 2 stones because they can always win on 1. So having these not clog your hand is really important. And for Cthulhu, of course, combos really well with Rook Egg. If you open 1 Rook Egg and a Cthulhu and you're going first, you're at least going to get 1,000 damage on board. And if you have 2 Cthulhu and a Hunter or anything like that, that's already 1,300. So it just applies a lot of pressure. For his spells, he had 4 of the Demon Sword, of course, also along with 4 of Excalibur. All Bahamut players that were running top 8 did run 4 of each. It makes perfect sense because this makes it, you can swing with Bahamut for 1,000, let's say, or it would be, let's say, you don't tap the Demon Sword on purpose if they have a red open. You swing for 1,000, and then if they try to Crime and Punishment, you just tap Excalibur to get +2/+2, and now you're alive. So there's just so many things Excalibur does. It fights Crime and Punishment, which was like one of the only kind of outs to Bahamut, when even then it wasn't. It fights that. It lets you swing over another Bahamut if they just have a rested one and their sword is tapped. So if they only have a Demon Sword and you happen to have both, you can shoot into it and make them waste the Regalia for Imperishable, and you would still have both yours. So yeah, having 8 Regalias is just super important. 4 Thunder, of course, for 500 direct or spot removal. I'm sure this is actually used a ton of direct because there's been so many times where they've just top decked and I'm at 400 and they're like Thunder, and I'm like, yeah, that's game. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. I wouldn't have a cake zone in the time. And then 3 Duel of Truth. I also understand why he played this card. Like the Alice deck profile I did for Dylan, this card can kind of force both of you to die in a sense. I mean, the thing is let's say if you have a Bahamut and an Excalibur and they don't, or they already attacked and you took the hit, you can tap your Excalibur, Duel of Truth just to get rid of their Bahamut and then swing. And it's so important because I saw, when I was walking around after my matches and just kind of watching people play, I noticed a lot of Bahamut players are so paranoid to attack, even at like the first, I mean like the top tables where it's the people that are doing even better with the deck. They would just all have the Regalias up and be scared to swing because they know one mistaken swing can just cost you the game. So I don't know why I can't talk today, but yeah, so Duel of Truth kind of goes around that because you can tap your swords, go in for the Duel of Truth, you take them out, and then just be able to attack. Or even better, if you have Imperishable and you haven't tapped, you can still deactivate that turn again if you haven't rested, of course, or tapped for a stone. So if you just Duel of Truth and it dies, you go back to the same position and you can deactivate it if you meet the requirements. So there's so many things Duel of Truth can do for this deck. For the side, like I said, I'm just going to mention the other variants of the deck. You can always have Melgus in the side, which is really important because I actually got really like just destroyed by this. I played against the person who went 9th actually. He was running Bahamut with black-red, and I sided into 2 Dragon Slayer and a Susano, and he went from Bahamut to Melgus, and I mulliganed and literally drew both Dragon Slayers and a Susano, and when he flipped Melgus, I was like, well, there goes my match. I literally just screwed myself over. So Melgus is really good to switch into if you're anticipating someone to switch into the counters for Bahamut. He's also just a really good ruler in himself. I mean, he got 2nd place just with Melgus, and I know he had Bahamut sided, but I still give him props for that. I've always actually liked Melgus, even though he's a red ruler. He's just really good because in a meta where Flame isn't very prominent, if they thunder, you just tap the red sword and he just goes and then comes back and you get a stone again next turn. It doesn't really, you don't even lose anything other than making them waste the thunder, unless they're like swinging for game or something and you don't have a blocker, which you can't even block Bahamut anyway. It doesn't matter. He just keeps coming back and it's really good. And then same deal with Kayn. The fact that you get a stone every single turn makes it really good, and Kayn actually has the best matchups against decks that don't use Bahamut. So if you're going against it that has like really easy access to Guiber or anything like that, you just tap the sword once during draw, and even with just 1, that's 400 damage, untap, do it again, that's 600 damage with his effect, and that's 2 shots to a Guiber, 2 shots to a Hamlin, 1 shot to a Rapunzel, anything that's like running, even let's say the deck that Epunk used with the Alice World, if they have 1,000 Jan, that's 2 shots to the Jan. Of course they're going to heal, but it's just unbelievable that he can get rid of stuff so easily. Susano was another card scene, of course. Most people would just cite in 1, but we've already known about Susano. Crime and Punishment was also used by some players. They also had Split Heaven and Earth just for matchups that weren't Bahamut. Once again, these ratios aren't correct. It's just I fit one of every single card just to show you guys. One of Credo, the volcano, the blazing volcano anyway, it doesn't let you heal, so it's really good against Vlad, maybe in there for Grimia as well. You never know what they're going to use, so having this as an option is really great. Kind of going into Brian Lou's package, we have Bloody Snow White. He had sided this, but he was also maining Little Red. He had 4 Little Reds and 3 Grannies. He also mained Guiber. Why this is so important is on turn 3, if you already have 3 stones, because I'm guessing he was tapping a little bit more and kind of fending off Bahamut when he needed anyway. And then if he could tap for stones, he could, you know, if he has to. But of course, if he doesn't have to, he's already winning, so it doesn't matter. But what you can do is if you do get to 3 stones with Bahamut, you go play Little Red, and of course this is on untap, not the turn you tap for a stone, but you go Little Red, pay Awakening, summon Granny, tap Bahamut, well, Felt Gold, sorry, to search for a dragon, search Guiber, and then play it for 1 because you've already put 2 monsters on the board. So there's a lot of different combos you can do with Bahamut because he can search dragons, and he had all 3 of these main decked. He also had Poison Apple main deck, so when he sided into Bloody Snow White, he didn't have to invest so much in it because he already has the main for Little Red anyway, which is just really good spot removal because that's 1,000 damage. Plus, it's not a bad card in general because if you go swing for Cthulhu and they're like, okay, well I have to block the next card, you just go Poison Apple, that's at least 1,500 damage, which is really strong anyway, so I can see why Poison Apple in the main is good. And then he also had a Clockwork Apple Bomb. This was only used at 1. I'm sure he used this mainly to pitch it for Little Red, But this card is actually really usable, and there's a kind of a combo with it that people don't realize. Let me get to Bloody Snow White real quick. So Clockwork Applebomb reads, if your ruler is Snow White or your J ruler is Bloody Snow White, destroy blocking resonator and block the resonator. This card deals 500 damage to each controller of those resonators. So why this is important is because the trigger itself is if you control Bloody Snow White or Snow White. It doesn't have to be during the attacking step. The trigger to activate this card is specifically just while you control Bloody Snow White. So the thing about this card is it says destroy both resonators. So if I go swing with Bloody Snow White, you attempt to block, and I play Clockwork Applebomb, it's still going to destroy your resonator, but Bloody Snow White isn't a resonator. So I'm not going to get destroyed or take 500 damage. You're going to get destroyed, take 500 damage, and then 1300 direct because I'm swinging for direct. And against something like a Menasoft Fleece, especially against like a non-Bahamut matchup, that's insane because I'm just going to swing for 13, and the player's like, okay, block with Menasoft Fleece, and you go, okay, Clockwork Applebomb. Both our resonators are destroyed. I'm not a resonator. You take 500 damage. I, of course, take 500, I'm sure, for targeting it, right? No, it doesn't even target. It just says destroy blocking resonator. So even better, you don't even have to target Menasoft Fleece and take the 500. So yeah, so it has a lot of usages, and worst case, you just pitch it for little red. So I actually like the thought of this card. I've been wanting to run Snow White even before Regalia, and I've always had my eye on that card because I just thought it was really cool. And then, like I said, when I was playing against the 9th place person, he had a Magic Stone of Scorched Bales. Once again, I'm only showing off one because I didn't have the room. And I noticed he used a Bind of Gravity on my Gwyver, which made it pretty much impossible for me to attack with it, and he even rested so he could just keep flying over it, which is really insane. And then he also had Flame of the Outer World, and that's where I made a mistake as well. At one point, because I'm so used to practicing against Bahamut with just mono red, he, during his draw, thundered my Gwyver, and I had a Cake Zone up, and I was like, okay, that's fine, because I didn't notice he had a Scorched Bales because I was so used to them never playing it. And then he untaps and he goes Flame. And I was just like, oh god, how did I not see that? Like, it was like the worst misplay of the day on my part. This is the same guy that I sided the 2 Dragon Slayers against. So it was just misplays on my part all day and just, you know, bad calls. And yeah, so like that's always an option too. You could just play Black-Red Bahamut to have access to Flame. You know, even that whole Thunder Flame combo works against another Bahamut. Of course, he's going to gain Imperishable because you can after the Thunder. But it's still a good way to get rid of it. It's a possibility. It also kills stuff like Kane. So it's not the worst card to use them. I like that version too. But definitely, in my opinion, I do like the original first place build because I love Percival. I think the idea of making Bahamut into a pseudo Melgus is just extremely strong, and I couldn't ask for another way to try to protect my Bahamut. I feel like it also makes you waste so little resource that your field is always full of Regalias and your hand is probably always at a decent amount. So it's nice to know that you're not technically just dumping everything and hoping for the best. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys do want a copy of the list, just check out the Too Long Didn't Watch version where I show off the actual side deck and the real list, and I just skim through it really fast. If you guys have any other questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because I have a Void discussion tomorrow about Valhalla Void cards and how I think they can impact the meta of the future with Alice 1 coming out. And then I have all of the CMF rulers coming for the next 2 weeks. And then, of course, everything coming when the actual Alice cluster drops. And I will catch you guys next time.